Thank you, Steve. Excited. Finally game week, like Steve said. Really excited to get out there and play on Saturday afternoon. Our guys have been nothing but fantastic since January. Love what we've done as a team and how we've grown since January. And can't wait to get out there on Saturday and finally get to compete against someone else in front of our great fans. We'll need our crowd. This will be the biggest attendance that Old Dominion has ever played in the history of their program. So we certainly need to do our part as a fan base, and know they will. They've been waiting since November to get back in there and cheer on the Gamecocks, so I know they'll be at their best. Gamecock Walk will be at 2:15, I believe. We're leaving the hotel to come down around 1:50, and as soon as we get here, we'll be doing that. So we need that to be rocking on Saturday to welcome our players to Williams-Brice Stadium, and a lot of guys that'll be going through Gamecock Walk for the very first time as well. And looking forward to that without a doubt. Thought we had a great practice this morning, great spirit, great energy, intensity, everything that we wanted it to be. That was on display this morning. Great respect for Old Dominion and their program. Obviously very familiar with them growing up in Virginia and recruiting up there for so long. They're located in a hotbed of recruiting in that part of the country. They've got good players. There's no question about it. You look back at last year, they easily could have been an 11-win team. They had 5 losses last year by 6 points or less. So they very easily could be a team that we're sitting here talking about, an 11-win team that was in the mix for a New Year's Six bowl game or whatever it was called last year as well. Got a linebacker that's the preseason player of the year in the Sun Belt Conference and is their all-time leading tackler. He is all over the field offensively, and they play a unique style of defense that will present challenges for our guys in the run game, without a doubt. Play really, really hard. That's evident on tape. Offensively, they'll look very much like Tennessee with the tempo, the formations, the concepts they run in the passing game, the patterns, the run game. They were very much like that last season. And then in the offseason, they hired 2 assistants off of Tennessee's staff that are now at Old Dominion. So it'll be very much we anticipate Tennessee flavor and a lot of tempo and whatnot. So we've got to do a great job of handling the tempo as a defense. Athletic quarterback that can make plays for them as well. And then on special teams, they've no one in the country. We pride ourselves on being really good on special teams and blocking kicks and impacting games. No one in the nation, they've got the second most blocked number of kicks in the nation over the last 3 seasons. So they're very opportunistic and really good on special teams as well. If you follow college football, you know about their history beating Virginia Tech 2 years ago. They lost to Virginia Tech last year, but had over 200 yards rushing on Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. They played Wake Forest last year, had them down 2 scores in the second half. And then all you have to do is look at the history of the Sun Belt Conference and who the Sun Belt Conference has beaten over the last 6 years, and it is a who's who of college football. So we need to make sure that our team, our fans, and everyone understands that. This is a quality opponent coming in here that does not look like a group of 5 team from a personnel standpoint. They got size and athleticism up front on defense. And, we know they're not coming in here hoping to play well or keeping it close. And as a competitor, you want that. And we need to have a great week of practice and put ourselves in position to go play really well on Saturday, and got off to a great start with that this morning. Questions?
Shane, a couple for you. You mentioned last Thursday that Ja'Kai Moore might be out for a while. Is there an update on him?
He'll be out.
For the game?
Yes, he'll be out here for a little bit, definitely for Saturday. He and Aaron Parks both. If he returns, we'll let you know, but won't be a week-to-week thing for now.
And Alex was on top of the kicking competition for the depth chart. What made him win the job, and will there be competition going forward?
Yeah, we'll constantly continue to compete, throughout the year. It's how we do things. Like I told our players this morning, practice matters, games matter, and every week's a new season. But certainly coming out of the preseason, David, we felt like Alex was just a little bit farther along. It was a competition. I think all those kickers would tell you they didn't have the best first week of practice, but I thought as we got into scrimmage situations, more competitive situations, stadium environments, that Alex took a step and separated himself from the rest of that group as well. I like the group. It's a talented group of specialists, but that's what we saw. And you would expect that from him, as he's an older guy that's been around here for a while and has played in games, and there should be a quiet confidence with him, not to mention he's a talented kicker.
Nicky Manwari said something about how maybe you try to poke some of the guys on the defense a little bit to keep them motivated. Can you share any examples of what that might sound like?
No. He said that today in practice.
He didn't specify whether it was today or just.
I think there's certain, your players and you know what motivates them and what gets them going. And I think they told the story 2 weeks ago of we got Rocket and Debo had a collision, and I was kind of getting on Debo about it. And then Debo went crazy the next 3 plays, and TJ Sanders said that you, meaning me, caused that as well. I think it's just knowing your players and what kind of motivates them and getting them going. And certainly I know how to he was talking today specifically to Debo. I know how to get Debo riled up and going as well, but it's just nothing more than just having fun at practice and trying to find different ways to motivate guys out there.
And one more defensive related thing with the tackles rotation. I guess a lot of it's based on who's doing well throughout the course of a game, but how much do you guys talk as a defensive, or how much do you talk with the defensive staff about, hey, let's try to rotate X number of snaps or however often, and I'm guessing you probably feel a little more flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you could realistically see 6 guys play on Saturday. You will see 6 guys play Saturday between Tonka, Boogie, TJ, Kel, Jules, and Nick Barrett. And then Rondo Porter, Ronnie's brother, and Jamal Weiss are in that mix as well. But certainly you're going to see a deeper rotation than what you had last season. We want to play our players. Clayton and I talked about that yesterday. Myself, Clayton, and Dal. We have more depth, and we need to play our guys. We know it's going to be hot Saturday. So play our players and keep them fresh where we're at our best in the fourth quarter. Certainly if a guy's not doing what he's supposed to do, we're not going to keep him in there. But we're going to play a lot of defensive linemen, and it's something that we do talk about on Saturdays before when we're at the hotel, home or away. We always meet as a staff at the hotel during the day, and we literally go through every single position. Okay, Travian, how are you going to play them today? If we're in this personnel grouping, how you starting out? This guy were to get hurt, what you're thinking here? Okay, Mike Furry, what are we looking at receiver today? What are we thinking in different scenarios? So we all hear it as a staff, and Joe DeCamillis is on the same page as far as what we're doing. So we have an idea of there shouldn't be any surprises coming out of a game as far as how much people played, because we discuss that as a staff and before the game, and then it's conveyed to the players throughout the week also.
With Juju being right behind Rocket in the rotation at running back, how much does his ability as a pass catcher kind of play into the decision you made to go with him as the backup to Rocket? And then what has kind of impressed you the most about him in fall camp?
Yeah. You guys have clearly done some deep analysis on that depth chart yesterday, and I can assure you guys it's not etched in stone at any position without a doubt. Juju's a guy that we have confidence in. He may be, did we list him second? I guess we listed him second on the depth chart. And one of those 3 guys may be in there. There may be somebody else in there early in the game before. It's all personnel driven for us in so many ways as far as certain plays, certain schemes, how the game's going. Just because there's guys that aren't listed on the depth chart that are going to play a lot on Saturday for us on offense and defense also, most likely. But in regards to it's his birthday, by the way, so happy birthday, Juju. He's a competitor. He brings great spirit to our team. He is undersized, but he is tough as heck. He knows the offense. We can do a lot of things with him, Jack, and getting the ball in his hands, in and out of the backfield. He's been really good for us as a kickoff returner. Like I said, knows the offense, pass protection. It just brings energy to us when the ball is in his hands. And I hate that he got hurt last season late in the year because we were looking at some stuff over the summer. I mean, you go back to the Jacksonville State game. He caught a screen pass out of the backfield and did some really good things with the ball in his hands. So he's just a really good football player.
Want to ask about two of the transfers on the offensive line that are in pretty good positions on the depth chart with Kamar and Torricelli. What have you seen from those two over the last few weeks to be able to entrench them with really important spots in the offensive line and to get a lot of snaps?
Yeah, they've been that way since day one. The moment or the environment wasn't too big for them ever since they came back in here in January. They've both have brought a toughness to the offensive line. They've both brought a competitive spirit and energy, to the offensive line that we want to play with. Torricelli was a guy that had a really good career at North Carolina Central, and Kamar had bounced around from Auburn to FAU, but they're older guys that are great young men. They're smart. They've just been very steady, and it's allowed us, Trevon's going to play a lot for us and whatnot. And Marquis is going to play a lot for us as well. So we like that offensive line group and like those guards without a doubt. But Torricelli and Kamar, two older guys that have just brought an awesome spirit and energy to the offensive line unit.
You said on Thursday on your radio show that you were probably going to be starting a true freshman at left tackle with Josiah. One, do you remember ever doing that? Any, analyst, assistant coach, coordinator ever being on a team where that was the case? And two, why is he so unique?
I said that on the radio show. He's got an oar by his name. He and Tree both are out there battling it out. He's really athletic. I go back to this too, Alan, like he was here for spring practice. We started a true freshman left tackle last season that didn't even get here until June. At least Josiah and Cam and Blake and those freshmen, they all got here in January, so they were able to go through spring practice, which has been huge for them. Josiah is very much like Lenoris in that he doesn't say a whole lot. He's just the same every day, and it may be like complete chaos going on in his head and all around him out there on the field, but he doesn't show it. He's got great tools. He's extremely athletic, and he's a gifted player. Comes from an awesome family, and excited for his future here at Carolina. There was a reason he was recruited by every school in the country and turned down every school in the country to come here. As far as starting a true freshman offensive tackle, I can't remember. There maybe was, but I'm trying to run back through my head of all the places that I've been, and nobody comes to mind. But, again, we've got a Tree out there that's played some as well. Kason Henry's an older guy that can play both sides. Jatavius Shivers is doing a good job as an offensive tackle for us. And then we've got to be good about, helping these offensive tackles as well with calls and whatnot.
You mentioned that this group has been fantastic since January. What qualities does this group have as a whole that get you excited about this season?
There's a lot. Maturity, because we have a lot of older guys that are returning that, as I've mentioned before, have been here and have played a lot of football for South Carolina. The transfers that we've added, it's a mature group of guys that handle their business as well, which really excites me. Demetrius Knight at linebacker, Rocket Sanders on the offensive line, or we just talked about Kamar and Torricelli. I can go on and on and on with the Oscar Attaway with the transfers that we've brought in for sure. Just their hunger to work and just the consistency day in, day out. There's days, this is year 26 in coaching for me, and there have been preseason camps where you could say, okay, we maybe took a step back today, or we didn't have a great day today and whatnot. I don't remember ever walking off the field this month and saying, you know what, we didn't have the day that we needed to. Was it always perfect? No. Was it? But the effort was always there. The intensity was there, and just the way they handled their business, just on and off the field. They're a really, really, really fun group to coach, and just they don't. Best thing I can say is they just don't waste days. We had a mock game week last week, and I thought we went out last week and had 3-4 amazing days of practice. We do a situational practice on the Friday before the first game, or 2 Fridays before. So Friday afternoon, we went in the stadium about 4 o'clock and went through just a script of all the situations that can happen. And we did that at a faster pace than we ever have in my 4 years as the head coach, which to me means they're locked in, they're focused, they're paying attention, they're getting their work done, and we're getting off the field. Just things like that that I see.
It was kind of weird to watch college football this weekend and realize there's 2-minute warning and some other stuff.
Yeah.
What practice have you done as a coach to get yourself, prepared to be in a game and understand those situations and decide, hey, what are we doing at this and this and this?
Yeah, great question. It's hard until you really do it. One, taking time over the summer and looking back at scenarios, whether it be the NFL or college situations, where if there had been a 2-minute warning, how this situation would have been handled with a 2-minute warning when it happened without it in the past. In other words, watching NFL games and kind of anytime I watch a game, it's hard for me to just watch it. I think about it as a head coach. Okay, what would I do here and whatnot? So watching NFL games and thinking about that, but that's even different because the clock doesn't stop on a first down in the NFL. So, but trying to put yourself in as many of those situations, and then we do 2-minute quite a bit in practice. And making sure that we have enough scenarios for myself, but not just myself, but Clayton, Dow, Joe D, that I create a scenario in practice where it involves the 2-minute warning and whatnot, because there'll be things that come into play on special teams because of it now, offense and defense. And probably the biggest thing for me is just you have to adjust all of your, okay, in the past, it was ingrained in me, all right, if there's 2 minutes, whatever, left on the clock, and the other team has this number of timeouts or that number of timeouts, here's the magic number that we need to get to be able to take a knee if we're winning. Or here's the magic number that we can get to here's when we need to call our timeouts to potentially get the ball back. And now all of that has changed. So really just trying to wrap my head around the new numbers, if you will. But it'll certainly be different, and it'll be great change. And we've tried to implement it as much as we can in practice as well.
Hey, Shane, whenever we talk to Lenoris, he always seems so even-keeled. When you have someone like that, are you not as concerned about the moment being too big, even if it's a quarterback making his first career start and with added expectations, added pressure, the crowd?
Yeah, you always worry about it, no matter, we talked about it as a staff yesterday, Rick, like no matter what their demeanor is, it's still going to be a lot on Saturday. They're 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old young men. And for a lot of these guys, some of the transfers that are maybe coming from smaller schools, it'll be the biggest crowd they've ever played in. And Lenoris, it'll be the biggest crowd that he's ever started a football game with as well. And once the ball kicks off, it's all football. We know that. But certainly we as coaches know that it's still going to be a lot on Saturday. But absolutely with Lenoris's demeanor, he gives you a quiet confidence where the moment's never too big for him. It's the way he handles himself, and a lot of the really good quarterbacks that I've been around. I'm not comparing him to Jalen Hurts, but Jalen at Oklahoma, Jalen was that way. I mean, he was all the time, and that's the way that he played. Spencer, I mean, showed emotion, but Spencer never got too high, too low. So I think that's a great quarterback to have, or great quality to have, not just in a quarterback, but any leader in my mind.
Sort of on that topic, I guess, do you have any specific recollections of what Lenoris was like coming off the field after those handful of plays he had last year when y'all were scoring touchdowns and everybody's going wild?
Excited. I'm trying to think. The Furman one was certainly excitement because he got out there and he rolled out and he actually absolutely ripped the ball down the right sideline to Tyshawn, and the whole sideline was like, oh my God, as well. So that was just, I think, pure excitement and joy. The Vanderbilt one where he had that touchdown run was a little bit more disappointing because we didn't expect it to quite unfold that way, because we knew the next week was going to be Kentucky and we were going to maybe do some stuff with him in the game at quarterback going into that week. And he kind of blew the surprise by keeping the ball and running for a 40-yard touchdown or whatever he did. And then the Kentucky one, I think, was a little bit I just got the crap knocked out of me by a Kentucky linebacker on that play that we ran as well. But in all those, not too high, not too low, all different, but just, what's next, ready for the next play. And that's very much who he is.
Not that we've talked about Lenoris enough, but another Lenoris one. What are the conversations with him this week leading into his first career start? And besides a win and throwing for 4 touchdowns and X amount of yards, what does a successful start look like for him in your eyes and Dow's eyes?
Yeah, I think just being efficient. You know, the conversations, most of it right now is with Dow, and to me, you're not just him, but all the quarterbacks. My conversations with them, it's preparing throughout the month of August, and going back to Jordan's question about 2-minute. Like anytime we do a 2-minute scenario, we did it Sunday night in practice, and getting with Lenoris right afterwards. Like, hey, here's what I was thinking here, and here's why I called timeout here, and here's why we clocked it here. Trying to help him as much as you can on that with those scenarios. You know, we ran a play in practice on Sunday night, and it was a play that he knows that I like because we call it Sooner from Oklahoma. So he texted me first thing Monday morning about, hey, tell me again the coaching point on this one. So it's a lot of dialogue back and forth that he and I have had, myself and all the quarterbacks. I'm in the quarterback meetings during the week. I was in there this morning, so I'm able to hear what Dow and Coach Shula are telling those guys, and we'll continue to have those conversations more one-on-one as we get closer to game day. And then as far as successful, we're not asking Lenoris to go out there and win the game and do everything by himself. You know, just being able to get things called, get things communicated, and then operate the offense efficiently, protect the football. We can't turn it over, and you know, making the right decisions with the football, and knowing when not to force things, all that stuff. But he's played a lot of football. I know it's not college football, but he won a state championship and had a heck of a senior year. So he's played a lot of football, and once we get out there on Saturday, it is what it is.
With Vershawn Lee, you named him your top performer in the fall. What has stood out most about him, and how important is it to have a veteran on that offensive line and in the offense like him?
Well, I appreciate Alan was listening to Carolina Calls on Thursday night because he heard that, and you clearly watched Gamecock football with Coach Shane Beamer on TV, so appreciate that as well. We did. We named Vershawn Lee the kind of, in my mind, the top performer. Just the of the preseason camp. To me, just his consistency. You know, you talk about a guy last year that played center, guard, tackle. He had to do it all last season because of the injuries that we had on the offensive line. He has been just kind of the glue of that offensive line ever since really last season, but now from January on, hasn't missed a day of practice or anything. He's just been Mr. Steady, Mr. Consistent, just like the question earlier about this class or this team. And what excites me about him, Vershawn embodies that. He's just a guy that I think appreciates every day that he gets to be a part of this program, and his spirit and passion that he practices with shows every day. And he's a heck of a player, but he's doing a really good job leading the offensive line and really being one of the leaders on this football team, and has been since January.
Shane, anybody for a non-injury reason out for this week?
No. Yep. No. So hopefully nothing happens between now and Saturday. But nope, I'll be honest with you on that one. We don't have anybody right now.
The coaches in the booth depth chart also was released yesterday.
Hey, you like that, don't you?
I do.
Steve covers it all. Yeah. Like, we're going to have every answered.
Who else will be in the booth with, I guess, Dow and Torian, or I guess some GAs?
Yeah, support staff, you know, so offensively, Ryan Juracek is up there with Dow and does a great job of, you know, talking to Dow and communicating what he sees. John Rudnicki, who's one of our offensive graduate assistants, he's up there, works with our offensive line, does a great job, so he's able to help with what's going on up front. Defensively, Trey Money, who works with our linebackers, is up there, does a great job as well, talking to Clayton and communicating to him what he sees and what's going on. Who else is up there? Jordan Dove, who does a really good job as our defensive graduate assistant, working with the D-line. Those guys are the primary guys up there in the box. I know I missed one or two, I'm sure, but those would be the main guys up there with Dow and Torian.
As far as the running backs, is Rocket on any type of not pitch count, but I mean, are you guys just gonna, have him go most of the game, or are you expecting to rotate that between, three guys and him come off the field a decent amount?
No. First question, he's not on any kind of pitch count. to my knowledge. Now, if Clint Haggard or somebody comes to me and says that he is, then we will. But no, he's not limited in any way. So he'll play as many plays as we need. We need him to play. But certainly, no matter who is your running back, it's a long season. It's a long game. We want to keep those guys fresh and keep rotating guys in and out. So we'll absolutely rotate, without a doubt, between Oscar and Juju. And we're excited about Jawarn Halm. We're excited about Matthew Fuller and Bradley Dunn and DJ Braswell. We got a lot of running backs in there that have played and that we're fired up about. And certainly it'll be a rotation. But, assuming Rocket's out there on the first play, depending on the personnel grouping, it'll be kind of his show, and we'll run with it and certainly rotate those guys in and keep them fresh too.
You mentioned in your opening statement about Old Dominion's history of kind of playing spoiler for a couple of larger schools and programs in the last several years, but what makes them such a good spoiler program, and how do you guys prepare for not overlooking them and hammering that message home?
Yeah, I think it's not just them, it's that there's so much parity today in college football, and it really is. I mean, you think about teams nowadays that, because of COVID, you had a lot of guys that got lost in the shuffle of recruiting and maybe didn't get recruited their senior year of high school like they would have if there hadn't been COVID. Torricelli Simpkins is a great example of that. He is an SEC football player, and nothing against North Carolina Central, but he didn't have a senior season, I don't think, and if he did, the coaches weren't able to go out on the road recruiting. So I think there's more parity than ever nowadays because of it. I mean, we had them this morning in our team meeting. We had all of the players on our team that transferred here from a non-Power 4 school. I had them stand up, and when you look around the room, there's some dudes on our team that are, a lot of them will be playing a lot of snaps for us on Saturday. So I just think it's more parity than ever in college football. You look at the Sun Belt Conference specifically, and I meant that, whether it be I'm not going to name names because then every fan base will be after me that Beamer's calling out the Vols, which I'm not doing. But you've got a lot of teams in the SEC and ACC and Big 12 that have lost to teams from the Sun Belt as well. Great respect for Oklahoma State's program. They won 10 games last year and played for the Big 12 championship. I just said I wasn't going to call anybody out. Now I am. But South Alabama beat Oklahoma State last year convincingly, and in Stillwater as well. So we've shown, and the Sun Belt Conference has shown, that you better be ready to play every single Saturday. And then to Old Dominion specifically, they're located in a great region for recruiting, so they've got really good players. To me, and for teams to quote-unquote pull upsets, you need an athletic quarterback. They got one. You need a opportunistic defense. That they have one. They've got size up front. They play a unique style that makes it difficult, particularly in the run game, to get everybody blocked and communicate to get a hat on a hat. And then you need to be able to make plays on special teams. And like I said, they've blocked the second most number of kicks in the country over the last 3 seasons. So it's a good program, very familiar with it, and have a ton of respect for the way they do things.
Whether it's game by game or week by week, how difficult is it for you to balance what you saw over the course of camp versus what you see in a game in terms of playing time and rotation? How difficult is it to figure out how long of a leash to give a guy if they're not quite performing well, but they were awesome in camp, along those lines?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's a individual basis, body of work. What have they shown in the past? Are they young? Do you live with some things a little bit more, maybe because they're young, whatever it may be. But our players know that, like I said at the beginning of this thing, practices matter, games matter, and it's a total body of work where we know what people are capable of, and it's a production business. I get that. And if we're not getting the production that we need from someone, we've got to be willing to make changes and get somebody else in there. But I'm excited, though, because of the depth, more than we've had around here on our entire football team. We'll be able to play a lot of people and get a lot of guys some work. And we're going to play the whole oar at the receiver position. There's a ton of oars, I'm well aware, because we anticipate all those guys playing. I mean, I told the receivers this morning I'd be surprised if we didn't play 9 receivers on Saturday. And, we're going to be a team that continues to get better as the season goes, and that's going to be because of playing a lot of people and guys continue to develop. Thank you, Coach. All right. Thank y'all.